Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today is another trying to fix video. And this video I am nervous about because it's an expensive product and I've never had a chance to look at them before. So in here we have a gaming laptop. Now I have fixed one laptop on this channel before, and that was just a bad screen, and I think it just needed Windows 10 loading up on it again, so nothing really too major. With this one it doesn't actually turn on, so it should be, I'm hoping, an interesting one, but a slightly nerve-wracking one for me because it's not a £10 laptop. I paid £200 for this plus postage. So let me just quickly open it up, show you, and then I'll show you the eBay listing. So here we have it here. It's MSI. So it is a nice looking laptop, and hopefully if it can be fixed it should be quite powerful. So this is it here, MSI GL62 7QF, presume that's the model number, 15.6 inch GTX 960M i5 7300HQ, 8GB of RAM for parts, spares or repair. It was up for £240, and then I watched it, and the next day came in an offer for 10%, I think less than that, and then I had a chance to offer the seller my offer, so I put in £200, which was accepted, so I've paid £210 including the postage here. And there was a few pictures with it, and it just says here, same thing again about the spec. It doesn't have a hard drive or SSD, so that's not included, which is fair enough. And it says, I'm selling my brother's laptop because it stopped working, not powering on. There is a charging light on, but laptop doesn't power on. Laptop was cleaned inside, so this is the interesting part here for me. Laptop was cleaned inside, and from that moment it stopped working. Before that it worked perfectly. The only problem was that a few of the keys did not work on the keyboard, and since we bought this laptop some keys are slightly lower than they should be. Probably easy fix. Well, problem with eBay is it always says probably an easy fix, but it hasn't been fixed in the past, has it? I'm not an expert and I don't know what the problem is. Maybe it's an easy problem to fix for somebody with experience, or it could be something hard, impossible to fix. Well, that's fair enough. That is very, very true. DVD cover is not in the best condition. See last pick. No returns, strictly for repairs or spares. Now, this thing about laptop was cleaned inside, and from that moment it stopped working. Now that could be completely genuine, or what I'm slightly worried about is I wonder whether it could have been liquid damaged, and if it was liquid damaged then you see maybe it was taken apart to try. If it was liquid damaged then the keys could stop working, couldn't they? So it could be related to that, or it could just be that a few of the keys were sticking, they took it apart and maybe they've ripped a ribbon cable or something. I really don't know, but it should be an interesting one. Now there was a lot of communication with the seller after this, a lot more than normal, which is either very nice or could make me slightly nervous as well, because the seller was asking, what am I going to do with it? Am I going to try to fix it? Am I going to try to sell it on for spares? So yeah, it was just a bit different. So now let me plug it in and show you what it's doing. Now the charger was included in the listing, so it makes me think it's not a business seller, which is good. Now when I plug it in there, you can see here, hopefully you can see, that we've got a little blue light. So it's recognising that the charger is plugged in. But when I go to power it on, there's nothing happening. There's no other lights coming on, and it doesn't I presume that little light should come on up here. It looks like there's a little dot on the switch here. If I hold it down, it still doesn't do anything. So I think what we need to do is, let's take it apart and maybe see if we can trace where the power goes from here, or maybe trace from the switch back. Is the switch working? Maybe the ribbon cable's been ripped or disconnected or something. I'm really interested to see the inside of this one, to see what has caused this. Oh, here it goes. Let's see now if the bottom's going to come off. Oh, there we have it. Okay, so we've got some captain tape on. So what are we looking at here? Does anything look weird there? don't think it does. Right, okay, straight away I can see that there's pins missing on this ribbon cable. The very first one I went to has pins missing, and it does say power. Right, do you know what? This looks like it's staged, but if you subscribe to my videos, you know that I don't stage videos. But this does look like it's staged. Right, so it says, can you see here, it says power. And if you look on the other side of that, can you see that there's pins missing? So, is it just, surely it can't be just a ribbon cable. That connection there looks okay. I wonder now, does this go to a connector on the board here, or does it go further? And secondly, can this be repaired? Let me get a little needle for that one. But saying that, these ones are all missing here. But what I'm wondering is, look, we've got slack. Do you know what I might do here? I might do what I call the Gadget UK trick, which is cutting it down further. Because at the moment, for example, it can't connect onto the pins because the ribbon cable ends here. But look, if I was to cut a couple of millimeters off that, then it will go onto the fresh pins here. Right, let me get a needle to get that one out of the way. Well, actually, I don't need to if I'm cutting it, do I? Now I'm going to cut along the line. There. Well, I think they look to be alright now. I think I'm going to get away with that. So, let's pop it back in. Imagine if it was just that. Is it going to reach? Because this is the power board here, isn't it? Right, that's gone in. You can tell by my voice that I'm hopeful now. If you have a look here, this is the buttons on the right hand side, and this is going up there. Right, let's flip it over and let's see if it's going to do anything different now. Just going to rest this on here. Here goes. No, I thought that might have fixed it, you know. Right, unless of course the battery's completely dead. Let's plug it in and see. Is the light still on down here? Yeah, light's still on there. No, still nothing. Oh, what a shame. Because that was definitely a fault there, wasn't it? That's the connection to the power board, to the main board. And there was pins definitely missing. I thought that was just gonna, I actually thought that might have fixed it. Let's see if there's anything else. I need to strip it down further, you see. I need to get to the power button at least just to see if the switch is working. And then I can kind of trace what goes where. And also it might actually uncover what's wrong, like for example there might be more faulty ribbon cables. So I'm going to take off these two big fans and heat sinks here. I presume would this be the GPU then? Yeah, screws missing here. There's quite a few screws missing. Yeah, see, they're all going to be stuck down with thermal paste and pads and stuff. I wonder, can I take out this board and keep this as a whole? These are just the speakers here, so they can be unplugged and taken out. Okay, that doesn't look broken, that's good. So they're free. Let's undo this little one down here. Right, okay, that's broken as well. Yeah, okay, so they've had a problem with the ribbon cables. I'll zoom in and show you. There. Again, I should be okay. I should be able to cut that back and push that in as long as the pins here are okay. And they probably are. Yeah, maybe they weren't sure that you had to lift the lid before taking them out. Okay, this is ready to come up, so there's going to be a ribbon cable connecting it here. So let's undo this one. Now, are we going to come up? What about the keyboard? The keyboard has to be connected somewhere. Let's have a look. Yeah, massive one there for the keyboard. Right, so how does that come undone? Sure about that one now. Let's see if we can get... Also, this is going to come undone here. That will free up a bit more room. Right, that looks intact. So now we can go here, can't we? And now we should be able to turn this over here so we can see what's going on. Oh, it's one of these ones here that lock down there. So we'll lift it here and here. Right, what have I got missing? There's something missing from here, isn't there? See if this looks okay. Yeah, I think so. Right, should there be anything here, or is that for something else? And is this connected okay this side? Yes, it is, unfortunately. Yes, it is. And it's labelled up motherboard and power. Right, let's pop that back in. Ooh. Right, well, I don't think it's anything to do with ribbon cables then, because this thing down here would just be for the touchpad, so it would still work, wouldn't it, without the touchpad? Or maybe they're for the clicks or something? Touchpad, I think. Let's check the ribbon cable this side. Yep, fine. Yeah. See now, if this belonged to one of your family members, then you see you would fully believe that it worked beforehand. But what I'm wondering is, for example, the only thing I've seen is the ribbon cable which is faulty here. Remember, the listener said it was working beforehand, and it was just some of the keys weren't working, and now it's not working at all. So if I can believe that, then it's something to do with maybe a ribbon cable or something not connected properly. But did it work perfectly beforehand? I think, do you know what, I think I do believe it, because otherwise why would it be said? It would be just said that it just stopped working, you know? I think I do believe that. Okay, so here we have the button to turn it on, so we'd be able to test that just with our multimeter, won't we? So let's go to continuity and let's see if the switch is working. Yeah, so I'm on at diagonals, and when I press the button it's working. And I'll go the other diagonal, press the button and it's working. I'll just check the other ones as well. Yeah. Yeah. Right, so the switch itself is okay. So when we turn this on, it's travelling down the ribbon cable to the board to tell the board to turn on. So if I pop the ribbon cable in, or even now, I should be able to measure voltage across here, shouldn't I? Maybe we should start putting things back together. Okay, so I've traced it from the switch and it definitely goes through the ribbon cable here. So what happens is the bottom two here are just a ground, so if I go to continuity here, you will hear that these two here are just the ground, and then the top two go through a little resistor here, goes down, it goes down through here on pin 12, and then it comes up on here, and it goes to a little resistor here, and it looks like it works its way up to the chip here. So let's just zoom right in on that bit and see if we can follow the trace. Well, actually, first of all, tell you what I'm going to do. Let's unplug it and disconnect the battery. Right, so it's coming up on pin 12, which is, and also the ground's coming up on pin 1 and loads of other pins as well. So it's coming up here. This is pin 12 here, and it goes along and it goes to the bottom of this resistor here. So if we were to go from the bottom of the resistor to the switch, let's see if it's going to go through. Yes, it will. Yeah, so right now you can see that we know the switch is working and it goes from here to here. So when I go between the bottom of the resistor and, for example, a ground, let's just leave that there, and now let's go to the bottom of the resistor here and press this button. There you go. Right, so we know now that this board, I'm not saying the rest is okay, but the switch side of it is definitely okay. So it's nothing to do with that. So now let's zoom right in and see where it goes to after that resistor. Okay, so now where are we? We're here. So it goes to the resistor and it goes off to this fire here. Let's just make sure we got continuity between here, because it does look to be a bit of a mark there on the board and the fire. Yes, we have. Then from there it goes to here, from there to here, from there to here. Right, I think because it's gone through so many resistors now, my meter's not picking it up. Let's measure that. Let's just measure that on in circuit. I suppose if any one of these were to fail, it would break the signal, wouldn't it? Right, so that's saying 10 kilo ohms, so I think that's okay. That must be just, would that be a test point there? And then from there, where does it go to then? Let's have a look. It goes up, up, up to... There it goes up to here, through this resistor and into this chip. Does that look like a bit of corrosion maybe? And then where's the other side go? The other side goes round into this resistor, and into this chip here. Right, is that a little bit of corrosion there? Because the path definitely goes there. Let's have a little look, where are we? Remember, I'm unplugged at the moment. I don't know, I need something sharper. Give that a little scrape. There's something there, but I don't know if that's corrosion or is it just a bit of leftover flux residue. But we've definitely, from our power switch, it definitely goes into here. Is there any markings on this chip? Yes, there is. BQ737. So I suppose I could look that up. Let's get a bit of IPA and just clean around that, just in case that is faulty. This is isopropyl alcohol. Right, well, the corrosion's gone from there now, but remember the chip could be faulty, and this might be nothing to do with it anyway. That might have just been a tiny little bit of flux. But let's zoom out, just because we have found something that looks a little bit iffy. And let's plug the charger and battery back in and see if it does anything now. We've got the blue light on. Just down here. So here goes. No, still nothing. Just going to hold it down for about 10 seconds, see if that does anything. No. Right, I'm slightly lost as to what to try next. I suppose just because it's so easy to do, I could just take out the battery here. There's a little clock battery around this side. Was it BIOS battery or something it's called? Not too sure. Let's just check that for voltage. Yeah, 3 volts, that's fine. Well, it's strange because I've definitely found a fault with the ribbon cable. Oh, sorry, I got excited there. I just seen a blue light, but it was the blue light I've been looking at all the time. I definitely found a fault on the ribbon cable, which is the power. You would expect that that was going to be the problem because it's not turning on, but it's still not doing anything now. Unless, of course, when the pins were put back in, they might have shorted in here. I wonder whether that blew that little chip. I think I should look up what that chip is online, and that might give me a better idea of what it does. Okay, I looked up that chip, and unfortunately there's not much information. Good news is you can buy them cheaply off eBay. So this one is a BQ737. It's got 5 pins on each side, so it's a 20 pin. And yeah, it's a power IC. It's a battery SM bus charge controller. Not sure what that means. But people are also saying it's equivalent to this. But I can't find I can't really find a data sheet for that. I took a picture of what I did find, but it doesn't seem to correspond to the one that I've got. So if you have a look here, that's what I've got. But if you to begin with, it doesn't seem to make sense because it's got 1 in the middle. But we know on my little one there's a dot up in the top left-hand corner here, and also it doesn't marry up to that. So my ground on here is the on the right hand side, second from top, and the ground on here is top right, so that doesn't really make sense. But when I was looking for this one here, it came up with this one here, and I'm wondering if this is my one, even though this is actually a different number chip. This is a 24725, which isn't labelled. My one's not labelled up as that. But when I go to the pin out of this one, it's making more sense because you can see I've got the dot in the same orientation on the board, and I've got VCC up there, and I've got 19 volts going into my chip. And look at pin 14 here is a ground. And if you have a look, I'll just put this to continuity, and if I was to go on, let's zoom right in so I can see what I'm doing. Alright, if I was to go to the second little pin here, well, saying that everything's on at the moment, but basically this is my ground here, so I have actually got a ground there. And now you see this top left hand pin. If I go to voltage on my meter, and I'll just rest this on here, then I'll zoom out to show you. So make sure I don't short anything else out. Leads are a bit big. Now if you look at my meter, you can see 19 volts. Yeah, so we've definitely got 19 volts there. Now we've got our power supply going in at the moment, and you know you've got your MOSFETs up here, because I have in the past watched Sorum from the repair school. And if I was to have a look at my MOSFETs, if you look at this side here, you see I'm getting, hold on, $20 volts there, and 20 volts there, and on this side 20 volts and 20 volts. There you go. And on the pin that turns them on, you know, the separate pin, it's coming up as, I think it was 9 volts. So that all looks to be okay. So I don't think it's a problem that the laptop's not getting enough power. It does seem to be getting its power, because we've got 19 volts here, and then when we come out of the battery, we have got, if you look up here, we have got like 12 volts. Remember, it's charging now, and look, even if I pull the charger, it goes down to about 10 point something volts, which is what our battery is. Oh, 12. Oh, it's 12 volts again. I thought it was lower. 12 volts, yeah. So that says to me, because look, we're not plugged in at the moment. So that says to me that the battery is okay. Come to the top of this MOSFET, whatever it is, 12 volts. So I think this is all to do. Well, no, I don't think. I don't know. I haven't got a clue yet. But I'm just wondering. See, it's not charging. It's not turning. Sorry, it's not turning on, and it seems to be leading to this chip. And this chip did have a tiny bit of corrosion. And as well, look, if now we go onto our little switch, it has got voltage going up here, 3 volts. And if I go to press it, you see, it will go to 0 and then back to 3 volts again. So it looks like the line going to here is okay. I'm wondering if this chip, I mean some of you already probably know what the problem is, but I'm wondering if this chip is not doing what it's supposed to do, because it looks like we've got the correct voltages, it's just not turning on. Or could it be something more sinister? I mean a screw is missing from the CPU. Could it be, for example, like a Nintendo Switch where the CPU itself is faulty? Maybe if a screw's missing, maybe that top bit was pulled off, and if it's well, it is going to be a Bga chip, isn't it? Are they Bga? Oh no, maybe not. Maybe on a laptop would a CPU be Bga, or would it be like on a PC where they have all pins underneath? Do you know what? I really don't know. So do you know what I think I might do, just in case there is corrosion here? I think I'm going to get the hot air to this, put a bit of flux on here, take it off, and have a look at the board underneath it, because we've seen something on the outside of the pins. Who knows, underneath it might well be corroded. So I think we should do that. So here we have the chip here, so let's put some flux around it. I've got my air set to 480 degrees, and I'm going to go 6 out of 8 on the airflow. Oh, my airflow's not working. My hot air station's not working. No air coming out of it. Oh, that's disappointing. Oh, and it's smoking. It's smoking. It's on fire. Uh-oh. Right. Okay. Let's turn all that off. Yeah, it's heating up, but there's no air, so obviously the air's not working. You can see all the plastic's melting. Oh, gutted. Right, I'm going to have to come back to this video. I wasn't expecting that I'd have to do another fix-it video in the middle of trying to fix this one. Okay, I'm back in action again. I just took it apart and it just started working again, so there must be, I'm wondering if there's just a bad connection somewhere in the cable, but it's doing what it needs to do. So I've got the airflow 6 out of 8 and the temperature's at 480 degrees Celsius. Let's go. Yeah, that came off nice and easy, and the board, I think the board looks fine. I don't think there's any corrosion there. Let's have a look underneath there. I think it looks okay, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't think that's our problem. But saying that, it could still be the chip, but I was expecting to see more corrosion. And there's no corrosion there, is there at all? Well, let me have a think about this one. Yeah, I think I might as well just pop it back on. I'm just going to check the pads. Right, so that's definitely a ground in the middle. So it was this one here, which is the ground. Let's just make sure nothing else is ground. No, it's not. I suppose I could check the. Suppose I could check the back of the chip and see if there's any problems with the chip itself. Where's our little dot gone? It's up here. This is the ground here. That's interesting. I thought that actually would be grounded to this, but it's not. There is tiny little bits of metal showing at the edge though, but I suppose that's just normal. These bits here, so they're ground as well, those little bits, but they're not actually a leg. Well, I'm going to pop that back on. Oh, hold on. Oh, that's just a flux cooling down, isn't it? Or is it? Ooh, hold on a minute, that does feel particularly crusty. Is that just a flux cooling down? Do you know what, I'm going to dip this in IPA just in case that was a lump of corrosion around there. Was that at the bottom? If that was at the bottom, then that might be good news. So the dot's there, so this is the bottom of the chip. That was that side, wasn't it? And give it a quick clean with IPA and pop it back on the board. Well, I'm going to pop the same chip back on because I haven't got a replacement. But if I get nowhere, then I might buy a little chip for here. I'm putting it on the same way that it came off, with the dot up in this corner here. Well, let's heat that up. Same temperature as before. There we go, did you see that pull into place there? So we know it's done now. Let that cool down and then I'm going to clean it with IPA. So that's it all cleaned up now, and you can see that all the pins are soldered, they're not bridging against each other. This one looks like it doesn't look as nice as the others, but it's still making a connection. So I'm going to put it back together just in case, on the off chance that it's made a difference, but I can't see how. And I think what I need to do is, I need to look online to see, for example, how a laptop turns on. So I know that we've got voltage up here, and I know that I've got 3.3 volts at the power board, the on and off switch. But for example, when I press that, what opens up? Where does it go to after that? Does it go to the CPU, or does it go to some other component? Because then I can see whether that's getting power, because when we turn it on, to me nothing's happening, but maybe it's getting further than this area here, more into the board, and then you see I can take it from there. I'm thinking it's this chip that I've just taken off, but it might not be at all. It could be something further along, more into it. But let's just pop it back together just to see if it will make any difference at all. Do you know, we know there's charging a battery, we shouldn't need to put the power supply in, should we? This should just work like now. Alright, let's have a look. No, still nothing, no fan spin or anything like that. So it's still not doing anything. Yeah, it's still completely dead. Right, I need to look online and see what's happening. I think just before I do that, let's just have a quick look, just in case it is something to do with the GPU or CPU. So now, how do these come off? We've got a fan here, fan here. Here we go. Oh, that's attached to here as well, so I need to undo these screws. Okay, that's come off lovely and easy. There we go, with the thermal paste there as well. Well, I don't think that's been taken off before, because you can see all the dust around here. So I don't think that's been messed with. Oh, hold on. Is there damage here? There's damage here. It's damaged. What's that? The GPU. Well, what's happened here? Looks like it's been pried up. Oh, what? Would the GPU stop it from turning on? I suppose it would. Let's zoom right in here and have a look. Okay, so here we have what I believe is the CPU, but I could be wrong. This could be the GPU. I don't know how to tell the difference. But if you have a look here, can you see here? Is that focusing? There we go. We've got damage there as well, haven't we? Let's just see if there's what that is underneath. Yeah. So there's damage there, and in here there's going to be loads of layers, isn't there? Loads of different layers of boards. It's tiny, but maybe that's enough. And now if we go over to the, I'm just going to call it a GPU. You already know the damage at the bottom here, where I've flattened off just here. We'll look at that properly in a minute, but look, can you see up here as well? There's also damage. So we got that little bit there. And here as well. That's quite deep, that one, and that feels like it's still attached. I think that's probably could well be the problem on there. And then there's this one here which has damage on the top. So a couple of days have gone past since that part of the video. I've got over the initial shock that possibly the GPU and the CPU is damaged, and I've been doing a little bit of fault finding just down on the different rails to see if I can find anything. And I have found something which I want to show you now. And yeah, to me it looks like this might be interesting. Also, what I found really strange is, look at the speakers. I've plugged in the speakers just to see if I can hear anything. And I was wondering what this metal stuff is, and there's iron filings all around the speaker. So obviously it's magnetic, but isn't that strange to have so much iron filings around here? I mean, look at that. Weird, isn't it? And it's on all of them. I just thought that was a little bit unusual. Anyway, what I've noticed is I've been tracing some voltages, and then the voltages don't go past a certain place, which I thought is fair enough, because maybe you then need to switch it on to in order some MOSFET or something to turn on to then allow the voltage through. But then I've measured for continuity and I'm getting shorts. Now I've got to be a bit careful because I know you do get shorts around the CPU and the GPU, but these do look like proper shorts. So watch this now. If I'm going to plug this in here, and also what else have I done? I've also checked for the RAM as well. When I looked online, when people are doing teardowns of this, the RAM's always in that slot. So I've tried that slot. I've also tried just holding down the power button for 30 seconds with the battery disconnected to completely drain everything, and then just using the charger and turning it on. It's still not working. So it's nothing to do with the RAM slot or the fact that there's any kind of charge left anywhere. And I've also disconnected that and drained it for 30 seconds and tried it again. It still didn't make any difference. But watch this now. If we get our power supply here, you can see that we do have, I think it was 19 volts coming out of it. Obviously this is not under load, but you can see there we've definitely got 19 volts, yeah, or 20 volts, 19.9. So let's plug it in here, and I've just been tracing around different things. So use that as an earth, and if we were to go along these capacitors here, you can see on every one of them, so it looks like these might be the ones feeding the CPU, because look at the massive coils here, and on every one of these I do have 19 volts. Yeah, so that's what I've been sort of chasing, the 19 volts around the place. And also on this rail coming all the way down here, see this massive rail, we have 19 volts on top of these capacitors, and then they go into what looks like, I don't know, it's just a small little chip. Annoyingly, I've looked it up online, it's this one here, AEAG449, and it's got 5 pins up top, 5 pins at the bottom, 2 pins here and 2 pins here, so I'm presuming like input and output. Yet this does not exist. I can't find anything on Google to do with this whatsoever, which is weird. But we've got 19 volts at the top. We have 19 volts going into, have 19 volts going into, have 19 volts going into, whoops, going into this side. I've probably blown that now. Hold on 1 second. I thought both of those pins were on the same track. 1 second. I'm annoying. There's not, and it's the top pin. I might have blown that now completely, but let's just see. Plug that back in. Let's see if we've still got 19 volts. Right, 19 volts there. Let's go on the top one. Right, 19 volts, and now coming out, just go to top pin, nothing, and the bottom pin, nothing. Now I know I've just put my lead against there and shorted it out, but even before that there was nothing happening. Now if I take the power away and go to continuity, now I thought possibly it was to do with the fact that maybe it's not allowing it through because it's not turning on. I just want to check now, have I still got a, yes, the bottom's ground there. But now watch this. So coming out on this side, can you see I've also got a ground, and that means my going through this coil here is grounded. Let me zoom in to show you, because you can hear the meter now. Look, short, short. So now this is shorted here as well. So it looks like this rail here is now shorted, so I'm wondering if this chip is gone. But yet if I move up to this capacitor up here, which must be another power rail, can you see we haven't got a short? So nothing there, but yeah, obviously a short on the negative side. And interestingly, when we come down to these power supplies here below the RAM, these ones here, watch this. One of them is shorting and the other one isn't. So this side looks good, because if I go here, remember I'm unplugged from the power now and the battery's disconnected as well. Nothing here, but now look at this side. Here and here, which then will mean that this is shorted here. Yeah, but yet this one isn't. So something doesn't look right, which is good. I'm happy about that, because it means I've got something to fault find. Now let me zoom out a bit just to show the meter. And to me it doesn't look like it's kind of like low impedance or whatever from the chips, because if I just go to normal ohm reading there, watch this one, I'm on the positive side of that capacitor, the positive side, and look, it's 1.39 ohms, which is near enough a full short, isn't it? And if I go to the negative side, I think the reading's even higher, 1.6. So the positive side is more of a negative than the actual negatives, than the ground side, isn't it? So this is what I'm thinking about doing, and I've never done this before. I think there's so many things. I mean, immediately I'm thinking it's this weird chip here, this AEAG, but I can't find any info on it to find out the pins. Now it might well have blown now because I've just shorted the inputs on it, but hopefully I got away with that. What I'm thinking about doing is I'm thinking about injecting voltage, because I have got a power supply that I haven't really used much, and this one allows you to change the current. So watch this. If I turn it on now, I've got my voltage set to 0.75 volts, so less than 1 volt. But look, if I touch the leads together, it's going at 3 amps. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try putting 0.7 okay, 0.77 volts in at 3 amps, and then see what gets hot. If nothing happens, maybe I can up it to 1 volt and then maybe go a little bit higher than that. But that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to disconnect everything from the board. Let's move location, but you can see now that I've got my ground just to one of the ground points on the board, and where I've wired this one up is into this short area here. Now I did take the capacitor off here. There was one of these electrolytic caps just across here, so I just took it off just in case it was that was causing, just in case it had leaked or causing a direct short or something, but it wasn't. There's still a full short on the board. So I've gone onto the positive side of that capacitor there. So let's inject some voltage into it now. Okay, so we're at 0.75 volts. And 3 amps. Right, and if you have a look at my meter, you can see it is drawing 0.4 volts at 3 amps. Right, I don't think that's going to make any difference to any heat anywhere, but let's just have a quick feel around the place. Right, no, I can't feel anything there. Right, let's up the voltage. So now, I presume on here we're probably going to, well, we've got 19 volts coming in, but we're going to have 5 volts for the USB. I don't know what the chips run off. I think some things are going to be running off. I think I've seen 3.3 volts on the power switch earlier on. So I think I'm going to up it to, I'm going to up it all the way to 3 volts and see if we have anything. So I'm just going to turn this. Let me just disconnect this a minute. Leave it at 3 amps, but let's up the voltage. Right, so we're at 3 volts now, and 3 amps. Oh, bit of a spark there. Right, what we got now? Okay, so now it is drawing 0.4 volts, so not very much, is it, at 3 amps. Let's see if I can feel anything warming up now. Actually, I should take the RAM out, really. No, this board is ice cold, yet something's drawing. Well, we've got 3 amps at 0.4 volts, so just call it 0.4. Well, I don't need to, do I? What's 3, 4, so it's 12. How many watts is that now? If it was 3 amps at 1. Oh, what is it now? Hold on a minute. That's only like 1.5 watts or something, isn't it? Is that right? Yeah, 1.2 watts. That's nothing. Well, let's up this right up. I think I'm going to go to. What should I go to? Let's disconnect it again. Let's go up to 5 volts. Five volts, 3 amps. Let's see what it's going to draw now. I'm just plugging them back on. So now we've got nearly 0.6 of a volt at 3 amps. Let's see if that makes any difference. Oh, hold on. Ah, right, okay. This chip is starting to get only slightly warm. That might be completely normal. Well, let's up the amp. Should we up it to 5 amps and see what the voltage goes up to? I suppose we should do 4 amps. Let's do it amp by amp. You can see the voltage is going up. Right, so we're at 4 amps now. So we're going to be, yeah, so we're getting closer to, what's 8 times 4 is 32, so it's going to be 3.2 watts. Oh yeah, that's hot. Yes, that is hot now. Right, that is bad news, isn't it? Yeah, that's getting warm. but I can still leave my hand on it for quite a few seconds. Right, let's get some IPA just to visualize that for the video. So now, does that suggest that this chip is shorted? I think it does, doesn't it? Because nothing else. Let me just check around it. Nothing else is any bit warm at all. A few of these resistors here feel a bit warm, but that's going to be coming from the chip area. Yeah, because the chip, that's just radiating out. Let's just double check it's not coming from the other side. Yeah, it feels warm around here, but again, only just slightly warm, not hot. It's the chip. So obviously, do you know what I'm thinking now? Bottom of the board, is this this is the bottom of the board. I wonder whether these iron filings have anything to do with it. Do you think maybe the iron filings went through the speaker holes and some made their way into the board? Shorted something out or not? A bit unlikely, isn't it? Oh yeah, that's nicely warm now. Yeah. Okay, well, it looks like it's game over. Let me get the IPA. I'll put IPA on here. All around here. Yeah, you can actually see it drying off from there. Let me zoom right in and then we'll get a good look. You can see it here. Okay, so this is the big chip. I'm zoomed right in. I'll zoom out in a minute. Probably make it actually easy to see. But watch the IPA come rushing off this side here. There you go. Yeah, so it's, I wonder, is it possible that it could be the capacitors on the edge doing it? It definitely seems to be on that bit there, doesn't it? Let me try to see if I can feel. Imagine if it was just one of these tiny capacitors. No, see, it's coming from the chip. Can you see it's heating up here and going outwards? So it's not coming from around a capacitor and going out. It's coming from the chip and going past the capacitors. Yeah, and even if I was to brush the other way, you can still see it's the same thing. Yeah, unfortunately, it is the. There you go. It's going past the capacitors now. Let me check the one above it. Definitely the chip. What a shame. What a shame. So yeah, as you can see here, this is a Bga chip. It's got loads of boards underneath it. You can see the amount of traces on here. That's not going to be something that I'm going to be able to replace. What I will do is I want to see if I can get any marking on it. I can't see any markings on this anywhere. There you go. You can see it clearly now. So it's quite a nice little method to use that injection technique, isn't it, with the voltage? Because otherwise, when there's shorts everywhere, which there is on this board, then I'd be struggling to do that. Right, let's turn off the power supply and disconnect it. And let's just, out of curiosity, see if these little capacitors are shorting. So just got my meter set to continuity. Short. Short. But then again, remember it's a chip, so it does look like a full short though. Can't always go by this when it comes to the chips because of, I don't really understand it. I think it's called low impedance. That's what I've been told anyway. Right, so we have a number there, H5945701. S48. Bad news, it's an Intel chipset. Now, I don't claim that I know anything about computers, but from just reading up very quickly, I think a chipset is responsible for communicating with lots of things on the board. I think it goes to the CPU, and then I think it does all the ports here as well, you know, the USBs and stuff like that. So I believe it's like a modern version of Northbridge and Southbridge chip. So I suppose that kind of makes sense. Also, I've been doing a little bit of tracing because there's loads of different traces going into here. This, you know, if you look to this looks more like a CPU with the amount of traces going into it. But Do you know when it comes to like the MOSFETs and stuff, you know we have 4 connections on one side and then 3 connections on another with a gate. So we've got like the source, drain and the gate. Well, the gate is the thing which turns the MOSFET on. It's like a switch. So when you apply voltage to the gate or bring the gate to ground, it will then turn the MOSFET on. Well, I've been tracing a few things, and some of the gates from here do go round here and then come up here and then go into this side here. And then also other ones, I think it was, where was it now? Trace something else that also went into this side of it here. So that does kind of make sense that the MOSFETs and stuff, the gate is going into here. So if this was shorted internally, that would be throwing up shorts, I presume, around the board. So I think I'm going to leave it at that. Also, if you look closely, it does look like there's a little bit of a burn mark here. I did see that earlier, but I thought it was ink because there is a few bits of kind of black ink along the board in different places. There's a bit up here. But in this corner here, I mean, to me it looks like ink, but maybe it is some sort of burn because this is where the problem's happening. Now, just in case it's an iron filing problem, I'm sure it's not, but just in case it is, I'm really clutching at straws now. I am going to get the IPA and I'm just going to throw it all the way down underneath this here because the top looks perfect. So I'm just going to do that for a few minutes and then just check again for shorts, and then unfortunately I'm going to call it a day because I'm not going to risk taking this off. You can actually buy these. I don't know whether they're married to the board or not, but you can buy them on eBay for around £30. The thing is, there's hundreds if not thousands. There's probably like, well, I don't know how many balls there is. There's going to be lots of balls going under here, hundreds of them. So I'm not going to be able to reball this. Also, they're tiny. I mean, if you look at the size of my finger and then you think about the size of the balls, without proper equipment, I'm not going to be able to, well, even with proper equipment, I wouldn't be able to do it. So, but what I'm not going to just take it off and ruin it completely. I think I've done enough for the video to show that this is faulty. I think anyway, but again, completely open to being told that no, something else is wrong, and this would exhibit signs of heating up if, for example, that amount of voltage and current was put into it. But who knows? You never know in the future what may happen. And yeah, this could be something that could potentially be fixed further down the line. Right, so that's cleaned up now. I did a little bit of scraping here and the black is on the outside, so I think it is just a marker that's just been tapped against it, or maybe it means that's where the corner is, you know, pin 1 or whatever the orientation of it. So let's see if that's made any difference. I'm almost certain it hasn't, but let's just see. So I've got my meter set to continuity. Let's just go on this big coil here, and no, we still have a short to ground across the coil and on the positive of that capacitor. So it's definitely not that. Now, what could have caused this? I don't know. Maybe if that's working really hard all the time, it's easy for that to go. If I'm to believe what the eBay seller said, then it's a bit weird how it happened after it was taken apart. Could it be that these chips are damaged because we've physically seen where it's been kind of tried to be levered up? Could it, actually thinking about it now, maybe they thought that these chips were ones that were on pins like a PC, and you know, you can take them off that way. Maybe they didn't know about the BGA. It's possible, because remember the ribbon cables were damaged, so obviously I don't think they would have had a huge amount of experience working on boards, which is fair enough. Everybody's got to start somewhere, and I'm still learning myself. So is it possible that when they did that and then went to turn it on, if there was a short here, that it then ended up shorting this particular one here? So maybe the GPU and CPU are still shorted, but this is the first short on the line. So maybe if I was to remove this, maybe there would still be another problem, and if I put heat into it again, maybe these two would heat up. Who knows? Or is it just because it works so hard, because it's doing so much, that they're easy just to have natural faults on? Don't know, and I don't think I ever will know. But yeah, that is it for this video. If you've got any enjoyment whatsoever, please give it a big thumbs up, and please subscribe for more trying to fix videos. Take care. Bye now.